Thank you, committee, and to those in the committee meeting room for your patience while I testified on a bill in the Senate Fed and State Affairs Committee. Want to take just a moment, a personal point of privilege, if I might. Have a sister-in-law and some nieces here with their Girl Scout troop from Lenexa. So welcome to committee, all. If you want to stand up for a minute. They're going to get a tour of the Capitol and learn about our great state. Thank you all for coming. So with that committee, we do have the committee meeting minutes that were distributed, I think, on Friday. If you want to bring those out of your folder. We have minutes for January 11th, 13, 18, 19, 20, 25, 26, 27th, January 31st, and February 1st, 7th, 9th, 10th, and 11th. So I'll give you a moment to take those out of your folder and either suggest additions, or edits or revisions. And then I will ask for a vote on approval. They were emailed electronically on Friday, February 18th. Apologize, we don't have printed out copies for those who prefer them. We did receive some recommended edits over the weekend from committee members, so appreciate that, and those edits have been made. Committee then, seeing no further recommended edits or revisions, I will then move that the committee approve the committee meeting minutes for January 11th, 13, 18 through 20, 25 through 27, January 31st, February 1st, 7th, and 9th through 11th. Is there a second? Senator Thompson, thank you. Committee, any discussion? All those in favor then of approving the committee minutes for the dates I have listed indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The motion carries. With that then, committee, we will turn to our work on Senate Bill 141, enacting the Uniform Directed Trust Act. Would any committee member like a bill brief? We did hear one on Friday when we began working this bill. Yes, Senator Thompson?
If you wouldn't mind, since I wasn't able to be here on Friday, I would appreciate just a quick overview.
Sure. Could we have a short bill brief from the reviser, Mr. Thompson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Jason Thompson, Revisor's Office. So from Friday, let's see if I can remember the very brief version of this that I did. Senate Bill 141 is a bill brought to you by the Kansas Judicial Council. You heard it on February 8th or so of 2021, but it has not been worked, so it is still sitting here in committee. It is a carryover bill, so I do have a technical amendment that would update the dates in the bill. If you choose to pass it out, I'd recommend that you do that with the appropriate date updates. Essentially, all the bill does is enact this new Kansas Uniform Directed Trust Act. It is a product of the Uniform Law Commission, so it is one of the uniform acts that's been adopted. I believe the testimony said 13 other states, so Kansas would be the 14th, unless somebody adopted it last year that I'm missing. And all the main things to keep in mind are this is about directed trusts, which are trusts for which the terms of the trust grant a power of direction. And a power of direction is a power over a trust granted to a person by the terms of the trust to the extent the power is exercisable while the person is not serving as a trustee. And it excludes certain powers that are listed in, it appears, Section 5 of the bill. So this is a discrete group of trusts that would be affected, these directed trusts. And this would be a statutory framework that, as I mentioned, has been adopted in some other states, but has not been adopted yet in Kansas. So hopefully that covers it.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson.
I remember
Questions?
now. Thank you, Madam Chair.
It's been a while, and it's a civil matter. It's not a criminal matter, but it's good to be briefed again on that. So, committee, any questions for the revisor? Yes, Senator Pyle.
Thank you. If the revisor could, on page 9, I'm trying to remember line 21 through 23. This appears to just totally nullify what the will of the trust is. Can you explain how that works? If you can, if the trustee may follow a direction that is contrary of the terms of the trust.
Revisor, Mr. Thompson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll give the very large caveat again that I am not a trust attorney, and this is a very complicated area of law, so I'll give you my best recollection of the testimony on this. So you have two kinds of trusts, right? You have revocable, which means they can be changed, and you have irrevocable, which means they've basically been set and are done. Require some legal action to change them, essentially, I think is maybe more accurate. So there's two pieces of the sentence. The first is, while a trust is revocable, the duties of the trustee are owed exclusively to the settlor. So you're the trustee of the trust, and your duties are to the person who made the trust, right? Additionally, while a trust is revocable, so still, your duty is to the settlor still, the trustee may follow a direction of that settlor that is contrary to the terms of the trust. And I think that reason is because you owe the duty to the person who made the trust. So if they tell you they want something done that's different, and it's still revocable, so it's still their choice, you may follow that direction because you don't owe a duty to the I can't remember the term for the other person, not the settlor, but the beneficiary, I think. Right. So, sorry, having some flashbacks to law school here, and not in a good way. This was not my strong suit even back then. So, it's just saying that while the trust is revocable and everything between the trustee and the settlor, the duties are between them, you might have a change in direction, and that can be allowed.
Follow up. If that's the case, then is there any requirement that if you're going to do contrary, that there has to be written communication? So someone can't just say, well, the creator of the trust told me they wanted to go this direction. I mean, is there any requirement here that they have to have that in a document that's, formed with notarization and signed by the creator of the trust?
Revisor, Mr. Thompson.
Madam Chair, I'm not certain. I would only say that it is whatever the trustee would have to do as their normal obligation as a trustee, right? So if you make a distribution and you're required to have documentation of that distribution, you'd be required to document it just like you would any other. So I think my answer is it depends on what you're asked to do. So remember, these are powers of direction, and you're being asked to do something such as something with an investment, something with management, or something with distribution. And so distribution was the easiest one for me, I think, because if you're asked to make a distribution that may be contrary to something the settlor said before, but they're telling you to do now, in making that distribution, you'd want to have the proper documentation so that if you're audited or if, essentially you're just doing your job as the trustee. So I think you still have that obligation. So there likely would be a paper trail, especially for a distribution. But I can't say for sure in that statute and that text.
Committee, other questions? Committee then, discussion on the bill or any amendments? Seeing, Senator Thompson.
Do we need to make a motion to change those dates?
Yes, we do have a technical amendment that the reviser, Mr. Thompson, will share because this is a carryover bill from last session of 2021. Need to update the references to statutes in the bill. And for further explanation, we'll ask the reviser, Mr. Thompson.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, committee, for your entertaining of this technical update. As I mentioned, all of the dates are just a year off, right? So we have 2020 SUPs, which are now 21 SUPs, and then you'll see on page 2 and 3, there are a number of July 2021 dates that would need to be updated to July of 2022 because it would not be enacted until July 1 of 2022. So I think that is all that, oh, I apologize. One section was amended in 2021. That's section 19, KSA 58A-103. So you see that we removed that section from the bill and then put it back in with the current law text because the Constitution requires you to amend the current law. And so by doing this, we would be validly amending that section. So I think that explains it. Hopefully that, yeah.
Thank you. Do we need to do with, it's a technical amendment, but it's the size, it's okay to not do a Senate substitute? We're okay with just going forward with the amendment?
Madam Chair, so generally speaking, the reason to do a substitute bill would be if the amendments are cumbersome or they make it unreadable. In this case, you're just changing some dates and striking one section and putting it back in. So given the length of the bill and the changes, I wouldn't advise a substitute bill, but if the Senate committee wants to have a substitute bill, you certainly could go that way.
If it's not required, we'll just proceed with the amendment. Do we have any discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, then I move the amendment. Do we have a second? Senator Thompson, thank you. Committee, any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, then all those in favor of the technical update amendment signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. The motion passes. We are back on the bill. Committee, any other amendments or discussion on the bill? Seeing none, then the chair will entertain a motion. Or I'll make the motion then. I move that we pass Senate Bill 141 as amended out favorably for passage. Is there a second? Senator Thompson. Committee, any discussion on the motion? You all have heard the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. The motion carries. Thank you, committee. Next, we will then turn to working Senate Bill 497. Senate Bill 497 was a bill that we had heard last week and then began working it last week. And we will have a short bill brief from the reviser, Mr. Thompson, please.
All right. Thank you, Madam Chair. So Senate Bill 487, you'll recall from our discussion on Friday, is a bill brought to you by the Office of the Attorney General. It deals with some current law training that they're required to coordinate with law enforcement. It expands that a little bit to require that coordination of training to be a coordinated multidisciplinary team approach to intervening in these reports involving alleged human trafficking and related activities. And then a new requirement that the Attorney General will develop or approve an hour of training on human trafficking awareness and identification. And then certain folks listed in the statute would be required to attend that training or complete that training, not necessarily attend. It could be web-based, of course. On Friday, I'll remind you, you were provided an amendment that is semi-technical in that it would change subsection C2 to more clearly identify all of those licensees who are practicing under the direction of the Behavioral Sciences Regulatory Board. It appears we left out some licensed master's level social workers and maybe some other folks that were inadvertent due to using some kind of outdated statutory language from another place. So you have a sort of technical amendment, but substantive enough that I wouldn't call it exactly technical. I think I labeled it Behavioral Sciences Regulatory Board instead of technical. So there's that amendment. And then we also discussed on Friday, another member of your committee had another amendment that they asked me to draft. And so that should bring you back up to speed to where we were on Friday.
Thank you. Committee questions for the reviser? Seeing none, then I'll ask the committee to draw your attention to the amendment that had been distributed on Friday, the Behavioral Sciences Regulatory Board amendment, and we'll address that first. You'll see there's a balloon that on page 1 of the bill regarding section 1C2. So with that, committee, any discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, then I move the amendment. Do we have a second? Yes, Senator Gossage. Second. Thank you. Committee, any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, then all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. The motion passes. Committee, other discussion or amendment on the bill? Senator Baumgardner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have an amendment.
Could we get that distributed, please?
Yep.
Senator, would you like to explain your amendment or have the reviser?
I'm happy to explain it. It addresses the issue of it's not just our public schools, but it's all schools, public or non-public, elementary or secondary schools, or any post-secondary education institution that in the course of the employment have regular contact with children who are less than 18 years of age. This addresses the issue with regard to community colleges and technical colleges that provide not only concurrent enrollment, but CTE instruction. Sometimes those instructors are actually go from the community college or technical college and provide that instruction in the high school setting. Other times the students are actually bused from their school district or from their non-public secondary school to the institutions of higher ed. We know enrollment is as high as 25% in some of these colleges. So it addresses that the training would be for all.
Thank you. Committee questions on the amendment or discussion? Seeing none, then do we have a motion? Senator Baumgardner.
Yes, Madam Chair, I move my amendment.
Do we have a second? Senator Thompson. Committee discussion on the motion. Seeing none, then you have heard the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. The motion carries. We are back on the bill. Committee, other discussion or amendments on the bill? Seeing none, then do we have a motion? Senator Baumgardner.
Yes, I will make a motion. I would like to make a comment first. It is a concern for me because I do have 2 adult entertainment businesses in my Senate district. There are all kinds of examples, including there's a gentleman that was a manager of an adult entertainment business in Lawrence that went to prison because of his attempts of sex trafficking using that strip club as a means of luring youth. And so we know there's a history of that. I know that this bill is vacant as far as language or requirements for that. I was not able to come up with an amendment for that with our reviser. But with the amendments that we do have, I do make the motion that we pass out Senate Bill 497 as amended favorably for passage.
Committee, is there a second? Senator Gossage, thank you. Committee discussion on the motion. Seeing none, then you have heard the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. The motion passes. Committee, we will stand at ease for just a few moments. Thank you.
It's not you.
Committee, thank you for your attention, and for those in the committee meeting room and following along online. We have had a busy schedule and heard a lot and worked a lot of bills prior to turnaround. So we have reached the point where we are at turnaround, and the last opportunity for our committee to meet to consider Senate bills that are not exempt today. So with that, is there a comment by Senator Gossage? I'm sorry, Senator Baumgartner, looking right at you. Sorry.
That's okay. So, Madam Chair, I can tell that you're wrapping up our meeting for today. So it's your intention that we will not have an opportunity to work Senate Bill 321? Because it is not an exempt bill, but it is a bill that, by approval of our leadership, House and Senate leadership, that is a bill that was brought to you by the Joint Committee on Corrections and Juvenile Justice Oversight. It was unanimously voted on. We did have a hearing on it, and I did serve as, though I was elected as vice chair, I served as chair because the last day of our meeting, Representative Jennings did die. This was something that the committee, the Joint Committee, had worked on, had a hearing on, and then we in this committee had the hearing. And I can't speak for Senator Corson, but for me, representing both Miami and Johnson County, it was a point of pride that the bill that is before us, 321, used what was being done in Johnson County. It was a practice that was created by a retired judge specifically, as to what was best practice for juveniles in the correction system. And it was a point of pride because we've had an example of something that's working in a county, Johnson County. And the ask was that this bill be introduced in both the House and Senate so that the rest of the state would treat juveniles in the corrections system with a level of respect and not have them restrained unnecessarily. And it was a surprise when former Senator Smith came in testifying against. I believe his testimony was neutral, but he had some concerns. And I guess my only ask is that if the joint committees that work for 3 or 4 sessions during the interim, when they come with a unanimous recommendation, if those bills will never see the light of day, then I think that we as a legislature need to work together honestly with our leadership to eliminate those interim committees. This was truly designed. It had guardrails put in place that it would be the judge that would oversee whether or not a youth needed to be restrained. We had that example of how it was being worked successfully. So it's your intention that this bill will die. Is that correct, Madam Chair?
Thank you for your comments. Mr. Revisor, could you inform the committee of the status of the mirror of Senate Bill 321 in the House?
I can answer that, Madam Chair.
Go ahead, Mr. Revisor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was just conferring with the research staff to make sure I was correct. In the House Corrections Committee, when they worked that bill, it was House Bill 2471, the identical bill to SB 321, and it was tabled. So there would need to be a motion to remove it from the table. And at the time, essentially, the chair said that kills the bill for the year unless somebody brings a motion to remove it from the table.
Thank you. Committee, with that, we are adjourned.